Today we're going to be talking about the 30 plus changes coming to Warzone within Season 2 and beyond. I was able to get invited and talk to the devs with a bunch of other content creators about some of the quality life changes, content changes, and the future of Warzone. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button. If you're brand new and want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. And we'll be focusing on 3 different areas. We're going to talk about the live issues, that's like graphical bugs. Then we're talking about quality of life, and that's something like the gas mask animation. Then we'll be wrapping it up with the Call of Duty title that comes out later this year and intel we found out about Warzone and how it's going to tie into that new title. And this video does have a sponsor segment, which we're doing now. Today's video is brought to you by DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. And DraftKings, the leader of daily fantasy sports, is putting you in the center of action, a shot of winning millions of dollars in prizes every week during the NFL regular season. Get in on the action now, will you be crowned the next millionaire? And it's pretty simple. Just by using promo code JGOD during sign up, new customers will have a chance at winning millions of dollars in prizes. Then you draft your 9 players, a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex player, and your defense. Each player has an assigned salary, and it's up to you to build the best lineup while still staying under that $50K salary cap. And with that lineup, you'll rack up fantasy points for touchdowns, yards, field goals, and more. So it really is that easy to get started. Just use promo code JGOD at sign up or the link near the top of the description. Welcome back. So the open issues that they were dealing with is console performance and streaming issues, and this is where your gun would not load in. That is supposed to be fixed on February 14th when the update goes live. Buy station fixes. This looks like it's going to also be fixed. Invisible skins should also be gone. No telling if they'll go ahead and return, because those things have happened with certain graphical issues. Cross-platform voice chat issues. I didn't really know that was an issue, but that should be resolved. We have geotextures, which is the demon guns that make it all flare out. That will also be fixed. Plunder Duos XP stacking, that should be part of the mid-season update towards March. MP DLC 1 was uninstallable, which is blocking people from being able to play the regular multiplayer. So that should be fixed on February 14th. And then obviously there's certain map exploits where you're able to get onto the map. That's going to be something they're continually to look at. So this is, we actually had a section where it was a little bit of a Q&A, and this is the number one question I was asking. I said, are you confident that console players are going to be able to play? Because at the end of the day, if they make a majority of the player base, then they're not able to play, that is an issue. And they sounded pretty confident that as of February 14th, when that update goes live, you should be able to play Warzone, and not just Rebirth, Caldera as well. And then with the changes to that, you should be able to also play multiplayer, and then hopefully be able to unlock your Cold War weapons as well if you're one of those people on a new account that weren't able to unlock them. So pretty straightforward stuff. There's a lot of other issues they fixed recently, but we've already talked about those. When it comes to the quality of life issues, some of these are going to overlap, but there's a lot of things that are going to be changing. Armor plating is going to be a little bit different. You know, right now, if you have like 95% of a plate, you go to plate and it only gives you that 5%. Well, now it's just going to add an entire plate regardless of where you're at. And this is something we've been asking for a while. And this is something that they said they've gone back and forth with in the studio. One side was like, hey, you know what? It makes sense. Hey, you remove the dirty plate and you put a new plate in. But in a fun sense, hey, it just makes more sense that you're going to put another plate in, you're going to good. So it looks like they budged on that. Allows to pick up and drop armor satchels if you're already owned. So how this would work is you could drop your satchel, walk over another one, pick up a full satchel, and you're going to get those 8 plates. This is part of the Season 2 update, by the way. Weapon swapping while looting. I'm not sure exactly how that'll work, but that's going to be something new. They're going to also update the little bit of the UI, so it looks a little bit cleaner. There's also going to address some aim assist inconsistency, sometimes where maybe it's too strong, and other times where it's not working. So they said there was different approaches they were going to take to this to see what they can do to solve that issue, because a lot of people in the comments have been mentioning, hey, you know what? I've been having issues. They'll hopefully be able to fix that. In Season 3, they should be able to also adjust the ascender when you're zipping up. If you want to jump off, you can go ahead and re-grab it at any point. It's not only at the top and the bottom. So that should be Season 3. Vehicle issues as well as world traversal issues should also be addressed within Season 3. So that's just something to look out for. They also went on about several other ones that are specific to Season 2. So the traversal improvements, increased mantle height and collision fixes. So that should just make mantling a little bit easier. Gas mask animation animation won't interrupt players if you're already aimed down sight. The mask will just already come on. Armor plates we already talked about. Vehicle handling and reduction in collision of world geometry. A lot of times the Vanguard vehicles, they just get stuck on everything. They've modified this so you shouldn't have as many of those issues. Parachute improvements. You will be able to now redeploy lower to the ground. So before, maybe it was like 8 meters. Now you can be able to do 5 or something like that. I guess we'll have to test how close you can get, but this should lead to a little bit more consistency. When you feel like you pressed the button, you saw the prompt, but it doesn't allow you to, and you still break your legs when you land on the ground. So that should be fixed. Stun fixes. Aim assist now scales appropriately, won't increase aim assist strength, whereas before that was a big issue. This is probably one of the things I've talked about for several months, over a year, where if you get stunned, the aim assist is broken, and this addresses that concern right there. We also had restrictions with dead silence and stun grenades being removed entirely from Vanguard. One thing to point out with this is Vanguard is going to be used more like a test mode, but it also allows you to play the Battle Royale the way you want, because obviously regular Battle Royale is kind of more geared towards, hey, grab your loadout as fast as possible, try and go for kills, rotate for a win. Versus the Vanguard Royale, they've really experimented with trying to make it feel a little bit more like a standard Battle Royale. Obviously, the rotations work and all that stuff with the new map, but the looting aspect of the game, which we're going to talk a little bit about as well. Nerfs to the fighter planes and gasoline canisters. Obviously, those are huge issues. Buffs to anti-air cannons, so it'll be easier to shoot the vehicles out in combination with them being weaker. And then final circles will be less likely to end on peak. They said basically they've mapped it out where it's going to almost be impossible to land in that specific area, so that you're ending up with POIs on the outside. They do have heat maps that they said that they're looking at, so they can see where people are landing, what parts of the map are getting used, and the parts that are getting unused will likely be filled with POIs, the same way we're having a couple new POIs with the start of season 2. These will address some of these issues, but to expand on that, these areas, they're going to continue to develop and improve it the same way we saw with Verdansk. There were so many POIs added from when the initial launch to later on, and the way the POIs function ended up being completely different, which changed the pace of the game. In the mid-season update, they're going to also make it so that the downed player, when you're getting rezzed, automatically right now, as soon as you get rezzed, you go into a crouch position. You'll have the option to determine whether or not you want to stay in the prone position so that you're not peeking when you don't want to and then automatically go prone anyways. So you're going to have that option, which is nice quality of life one. Gas mask, you'll have the ability to drop that. I don't know if that's going to be expanded upon. Armor, you should be able to pick up another armor satchel, which we kind of already addressed. And those are a lot of the quality of life improvements. I would imagine there's going to be more. We were able to talk to them for quite a bit and ask about specific things. They said that zombies camo from Vanguard will eventually be implemented, hopefully sooner than later. Obviously, I was like, how has this not been in there? Like, you guys know, but, and they're like, oh, we're working on it. There's so many different problems, and this is the root of it. We were able to actually talk to them, pick their brains. A lot of the content creators were like, why is it taking so long to fix stuff? Pretty much. And they addressed it by saying, hey, you know what? We bit off more than we can chew. We were very ambitious about Caldera and all these modifications. And one thing that they really mentioned is that when Modern Warfare was first built with Warzone, they were meant to be built together, which they were. And then eventually they were tasked with adding on these other iterations, which it wasn't really planned for. And by the time you get to Cold War and then Vanguard, you've already added on more content than the engine's capable of doing, and that's why the older gen games or consoles have had the biggest brunt of this. They even said that there's other issues that aren't even in their control. Xbox apparently has some different software. It was more of a technical thing where they can't run 120 hertz because Microsoft changed their software over from one program to another, and that other program doesn't run that efficiently or something like that. It was more technical than that. I'm not going to get into that, but that was essentially that part of it. And there was a lot of hype around it in the call. Obviously, the content creators were digging in, asking different questions. So I'd recommend checking out some of their videos. Maybe they have different perceptions on how things went, but it sounded like they were going to be very aggressive about fixing these issues as we get into later this year, we're going to have Call of Duty 2022, which is going to be the sequel to Modern Warfare 2019, rumored to be Modern Warfare 2. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the name of it. And then we got Warzone is going to be designed together with the new game from the ground up. And this doesn't really necessarily, I mean, I would assume that there's not going to be an integration. You're going to get a brand new engine. We're going to start with Modern Warfare 2, all those weapons, and then maybe it's going to be built in a way that will allow it to be integrated, because Warzone was way more successful than they thought, and they even changed so many things from the beginning. That's what they were addressing. They said initially, we didn't even think loadouts would be a big part of the game. They ended up doing it in playtesting. They had a couple buy stations, whatever, and then people would just camp the buy stations, and they're like, well, let's make it so that, you know, there's more buy stations so that people aren't camping those. They added a gulag because they were worried about campers, and, like, you know what I mean? They thought out the game, and it evolved way faster than they thought, with the loadouts being the primary driver. And it's kind of one of those things. And they pay attention to feedback for sure. We were able to look at some metrics where it shows that the positive responses versus negative responses and how those have changed since the integration. And obviously the game has had its bumps, but it's also had its you know, highs and lows and all that type of stuff. The new engine powering both new game release as well as Warzone. They didn't mention it called Warzone 2, but I would imagine that's what they're just going to call it based off all the rumors, and that kind of ends up in a nice little sweet spot. So in my opinion, the update is going to be a huge W, because my number one question is it going to work on console? They assured us it would. If that ends up not being the case, then obviously we can make a big deal about it. But besides that, sounds like they are addressing these issues, and they should be addressed on the Monday Season 2 update on February 14th, which coincidentally is Valentine's Day. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section what you're most interested in. Appreciate all the support on the content. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.